Thank you for joining me today. My name is Sage. This is a video from Sage's Amore Organics. A little explanation, conversation about who I am, who Sage EndoOM CannaBlissHUM is, and what Sage's Amore Organics is about, as well as why I am building it. Now again, my name is Sage EndoOM CannaBlissHUM. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. And no, that was not the name I was born with. I changed the name to represent the work and healing path that my life has taken me through. I had a jet fuel exposure in 2009. But earlier that year, I also had a poisonous spider bite that was causing me to trip, showing neurotoxic effects as well as the jet fuel's neurotoxic effects. Compounding a personal trauma that I had that's connected to military service earlier that same year. My PTSD is compounded with the neurotoxins and all the chemicals that are running through my system from the jet fuel exposure, as well as that poisonous spider bite that was causing me to trip, which means it was killing me. The only treatment I got for that was cutting it open, draining it, and Tylenol. I got absolutely no treatment for the jet fuel exposure. In fact, the naval officer of my unit wanted to cover the whole thing up. And she literally told me, I cannot see you, because they didn't want any record of anything. The incident occurred when my unit CLB-5 had excess fuel at the end of a training operation, and Lieutenant Julie Bradsburg ordered our unit to dig holes and bury the excess fuel in the sand. This is an environmental crime. It's also a fraudulent crime against our government and military, defrauding it of resources and creating false needs for funding. And they did it because they didn't want budget cuts for future training operations, as per her direct words and her excuse for why she did what she did. I was pulled off a truck by Corporal Omar Sanchez because I would not participate, and I went to go top off vehicles with the fuel that we were supposed to dump. While I was hopping off a vehicle, I was pulled off of it. Then we started to fight. I mentioned I'm covered in fuel. He stopped. I went and tried to clean up as much as I could, but I could not wash up completely, as we were already loading up to go back to Camp Pendleton, and everything was already being palletized and loaded on vehicles. I had chemical burns where the skin peeled off my feet and my shins and the top of my feet. I had nerve pain issues and GI issues and migraines that began right then. And they have not stopped. This is from 2009. I chose to use alcohol to cover up all my symptoms and just kind of get through the days, just like everyone else, and just as we were taught to in the Marine Corps. So the only way we were to deal with anything was to drink it down with alcohol. Now, as you can imagine, that probably just created more problems. Now, long after I got out of the Marine Corps, I finally started doing Ayurvedic detoxification, utilizing yoga, pranayama, meditation, along with my cannabis use, which my cannabis use I started right after I got out of the Marine Corps and has kept me alive this entire time. It has saved my life, regenerated my body, and healed me after I've had multiple serious adverse reactions to VA medications, including topiramate, which gave me bilateral acute angle-closure glaucoma with hemorrhages in both my eyes. In 2017, December 2017, while Trump was president, I received what was supposed to be vitamin D. Instead, vitamin D is not water-soluble, it's fat-soluble. This dissolved in my throat. I had to go upside down and use gravity to pull it back out. What came out was a blue-gray foam. It was bitter almond tasting. This is the description of cyanide. Ever since then, my chemical sensitivities I already had to medications expanded onto all sorts of foods, conventional foods, even topical lotions and things like that, to whereas I can tolerate very little. Although with my detoxification process, I have reduced my current burden in my body, and I can tolerate a little bit more. But I still need to avoid them as much as possible, because my body is still detoxifying from the jet fuel, and there are after over a decade of having these chemical issues going on in my body. Already permanent changes and things that have gone on physiologically that aren't just going to go back to normal. They're different. The only constant in the universe is change. So I have created Sages Amore Organics, my business that revolves around yoga, meditation, pranayama, organic agriculture, organic education, cannabis education, and the combination of all of them together to create the entourage effect, which makes cannabis as well as Ayurveda and naturopathy more effective. Utilizing all these things through my personal experiences and my education, my knowledge from studying at Oak Street University, as well as multiple different trade schools and programs for learning about yoga, Ayurveda, learning about different things about agriculture. I am implementing and putting together a system of yoga retreats on organic farms all over the world to address the issues mind, body, soul, as well as spirit, because I'm an ordained minister with Universal Life Church, which recognizes all religions, as well as the main point with that I'm focusing on is to remove the barriers and divisions, to show that we are all looking at the same thing through a different little bit of a different scope, as these different religions derive from the same roots pretty much, with different locations, different times in history, different fears, different anxieties that show up in their religions and sins and things like that. These things that divide us are actually what make us very similar. The underlying division is fear of the unknown. And the underlying basis of all these religions are the same things. It's a universal energy that shows its form and its face in many different ways, as per the Vedas and as per Hinduism. They explain that the manifestation is from the eye of the beholder, which is why all these different civilizations, time periods, it all comes from what you believe and what you practice and what you put in your mind. How you see the universe and how you see God in your world. We also seem to forget that there's a bigger picture, and that the earth we're standing on is a much bigger being, an ancient being, that we need to be taken care of, which brings me back to the yoga retreats on organic farms. These yoga retreats are meant to help bring balance back to the earth. The earth, just like we do, has chakras and nadis, so the yoga, meditation, pranayama generally is used to balance out the human's chakras and nadis. But we can transfer this onto farm animals, we can transfer this onto plants. They all have energy systems, chakras and nadis, energy channels as well. So does the earth. The earth is extremely imbalanced, which is why we're seeing all these catastrophic storms. By focusing the energies from yogas that we do, like Kundalini Yoga, and focusing that energy down into the earth as a grounding exercise, you can also help convert that energy when it gets down into the core, the earth's Agni, the god Agni, the god of fire, conversion, purification, purifying those energies for the earth, clearing out the imbalances, putting the earth back in a state of homeostasis to be able to create the environment that our plants, animals, and humans need for survival. Instead of this imbalanced state where we're constantly coming into new diseases, we're constantly having huge storms, tsunamis, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, sinkholes. The earth is gonna change because it needs to change. The earth is gonna change not the way we want it to change, but the way that it wants to change. And every time we keep pushing the bill in the opposite direction, it's going to push back harder, because the earth is a much greater being than any one of us. It's much more ancient. It's been here before us. It'll be here long after With all that said, I'm building these yoga retreats also because I've noticed that with my issues of having problems with conventional food, people who are dealing with health issues easily get sick going to restaurants, going to fast food, eating it pretty much anywhere unless they're cooking it at home and starting from all fresh or all organic ingredients themselves. For my situation, all the different reactions I've had across the board made me more aware, like a canary in a coal mine, of what these things that we're consuming can do to us, whether or not we are all aware of it on a physical level, on a chemical level. They are doing these things to our bodies. With that awareness, I know the problem that needs to be fixed in the food system is that we need to stop eating garbage and chemicals. So by doing what I'm doing, I'm also trying to create a food system of organic farms that will not require USDA organic certification, because I'll have a little bit higher qualification standards and I'll do my own certification for inspections, or have a team do it to my standards. With that being said, they will have less costs going towards an organic certification label. Reducing the costs means more affordable. Also, more affordable means it can be a competitive price to conventional foods. Meaning, they can replace everything in restaurants, grocery stores, and everywhere that we shop. Everywhere that you go, that you eat anything, you shouldn't have to wonder, am I going to regret eating this? Did I just pay to be sick, for a stomach ache, for a reaction? Food that is healthy should be accessible to everybody. It shouldn't be too expensive, and nobody should go hungry. As well, with the waste from all the farms, or what would be waste, what would generally make it to the sales, that's still edible and still consumable and still good food, will be donated to the homeless, the hungry, and those in forgotten places and war zones. As well, there's missionary efforts I'm interested in doing. We're helping rebuild areas of organic farms and yoga retreats, building farming communities, especially in small areas that are forgotten, that don't have a lot of resources, and that don't have a lot of access to healthy foods already. The other factor of what I'm doing is the sound. The sound baths goes along with meditation and yoga and pranayama. And rebalancing and re-harmonizing the vibration goes back to the pulling in the spirit, the connection with God, the connection with that inner creative energy that's within all of us, that created the universe, that maintains the universe, that divides a lot of us, even though it's the same underlying energy with different faces. That's why even Krishna, talking to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, shows his face, his many faces that he has. But he shows one that is terrifying to many. Because that is the one that stops the evil in its track. That is the one that has to stand in the way so that the people who are good, the good motives, the good initiatives, the ones that harmonize the universe, can move forward, pushing through those that wish to control everything for their own personal gain, for their own profit, just because they want the money, not because they intend to do anything good with it. For all those who want that power and control, those who are like dictators, the energy that Krishna showed Arjuna in the form of ferocious beast, a lion, Narasimha, is because you have to fight your fights. There's a balance to peace and war. There's a balance of the warrior and the yogi, the meditator, the peace, which pulls into my background of being a Marine and balancing out that energy with harmonizing vibrations based in peace, but ready to protect and stand up for what is right every single time, even when it's difficult, even when it seems helpless, hopeless, non-existent. Finding a light even in those darkest moments, that is where you truly find truth and you find God. And go ahead and enjoy the rest of this sound bath meditation to connect with yourself and your internal guiding creative force, the God, the energy that's within you, that's within all of us, that makes up everything, everybody, everything, everywhere. Find a place of peace and harmony. And I encourage you to utilize this moment as well to tear down all the barriers, misconceptions, beliefs that you have that are separating you from other people, that are separating you from other religions, that are separating you from other political parties. Because truth is the only thing that dispels, removes the negative energy brought on by fate, that we will all have fears. That is just a human fate. It's a human condition. But pushing through and finding out truth, finding out pure, right, correct information is where we move forward. Namaste. Thank you for joining me today, and enjoy the rest of the sound bath meditation. Namaste. Thank you for joining me today. This is Sage, Sage Amore Organics. This is a sound bath for cannabis legalization. Thank you.